to Math with Mr. P. Today we are doing Chapter 5, Lesson 4. This is 7th grade math, and today we are doing the distributive property. We're going to go ahead and skip through this. So the distributive property is pretty much going to be the following. Now, this is from last lesson, so let's go ahead and clear our board. The distributive property is always going to be set up like so. You've got two numbers inside of parentheses, whether it is plus or minus, it doesn't matter, but you're going to have two terms in there that are either going to be added or subtracted to each other. So example here would be 5 plus 2. And on the outside, you're going to have another term, let's say 3. Normally when we would solve this, we would do what's in parentheses first. 5 plus 2 being 7. Then I'd multiply it by 3, which would give me 21. The distributive property states that we take the outside term and we multiply them by each term on the inside to get our value. Now, if I do it this way, I should still get 21. 3 times 5 will be 15. Plus 3 times 2, which is 6, still gives me 21 as the answer. Now, some of you may be asking, well, why would I distribute? Why do I need to bring the number from the outside in and distribute when I could just do what's on the inside? Which is a good question. But what happens when one of the numbers on the inside turns out to be a variable? Example here is 3 times, and in parentheses, 5 plus x. I cannot solve what this is. Remember, 5 plus x does not equal 5x. That is not the same. This is 5 times x. Inside here is 5 plus x. I can't simplify this, but what I can do is distribute the 3 to both terms. 3 times 5 will be 15, again, plus 3 times x, which will be 3x. And for some reason, this screen is writing my numbers weird. Therefore, I have simplified it using the distributive property. I have distributed the number on the outside and multiplied them by both terms on the inside. This would be the simplest form until we figure out what x equals. So again here, the distributive property states that to multiply a sum or difference by a number, multiply each term on the inside the parentheses by the number on the outside of the parentheses. So in this case, we have a times b plus c. We distribute a in. A times b will be ab, and then a times c will be ac. Therefore, a with the parentheses b plus c will equal ab plus ac. Same example down here, this time with numbers. 4 times 6 plus 2. Instead of adding 6 plus 2 and making 8 and then multiplying by 4, I'm going and distributing 4 times 6 plus 4 times 2, which would still give me the same answer. So again, the reason why we distribute is because when you have a variable on the inside and being added or subtracted to a regular number, I cannot simplify that. So here we have examples of just regular numbers, no variables. For letter A, I have 5 on the outside, negative 9 plus 11. Now this is asking us to use the distributive property, which means you're not going to just add these together then multiply by 5, which would be 9, negative 9 plus 11 would be positive 2, so this should equal 10. But we're not going to do it that way. We're going to distribute. 5 times negative 9 would be negative 45. 5 times 11, so plus, because it's plus, would be 55. This is the same thing as saying, remember, the commutative property. Instead of saying negative 45 plus 55, I can flip it because the order in which we add does not matter. 55 plus negative 45 is the same thing as saying 55 minus 45, which gives us 10. Therefore, I've used the distributive property to solve that answer. We're going to skip B, and we're going to go to example C, because example C is written a little weird, and that has 12 minus 8 with the 9 back here. Now, you can easily just put the 9 here, and then distribute. So if you ever see something written like it was originally with a 9 at the end or the number at the end, just rewrite it and ignore it being at the back. Just put it towards the front and distribute. 9 times 12, 9 times minus 9 times 8. Now I'm going to bust out my calculator for this one because I don't know what 9 times 12 is off the top of my head. I apologize for the slow running computer. 9 times 12 will be 108. And then 9 times 8 should be 72. So this will become, rewriting it, 108 minus 72. And if we want to put that in the calculator, 108 minus 72, we will get 36. So this will equal 36. And if I did it the shortcut way, 9 times 12 minus 8 would be 4. 9 times 4 would be 36. But again, the question said solve it using distributive property, so you had to distribute the 9 throughout. And again, the reason why we do this is because eventually you will run into variables. So D, 6 times A plus 4. That looks like a 9, so I'm going to fix that. So what I do is I take the 6 and multiply it by each term on the inside. 6 times a variable will just be 6 and that variable, or 6a, plus 6 times 4 will give me 24, and that is it simplified after I've used the distributive property. I can't solve it because I don't know what a is yet, but that is just us putting it as simplest form. Let's do f. F is negative 3 negative 3, that's a long negative, y minus 10. So I'm going to change that plus into a minus. There we go. And let's fix that other negative symbol. Now, I have to go ahead and distribute the entire outside number, which is negative 3. So negative 3 times y will give me negative 3y, or negative 3 times y still. And then negative 3 times negative 10, because I'm going to add in the entire thing, will give me positive 30, so that will become plus 30 instead. Technically speaking, I could have ignored the minus sign and just multiplied it by 10, done this, minus, but 3 times 10 would have been negative 30, and I can't do a minus a negative. When you minus a negative, they connect and become addition instead. So it's still negative 3y plus 30. Because remember, when you subtract a negative, so if I do negative 3y minus negative 30, it'll just become plus 30 instead. And this would be my answer. So that is the distributive property in a nutshell. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, you guys know what to do. I'm Mr. P, and I'll see you guys on the next lesson.